Communist greetings, YouTubers. I'm just going to do a quick improvised video on my feelings about how religion should interact with society. I believe in a secular society wherein religious ideologies are completely separated from governmental decision makings. That's not to say that I oppose the idea of a religious politician, but I feel that he should not bring kind of his religious beliefs into decision making, basically on the basis that if you stick with science, it'll always pay off a lot better, generally. Whilst you can kind of take kind of the ethical ideas of religion, for example, thou shalt not kill is always a good idea that comes from religion. You shouldn't enforce your religion on other people, basically. Now, I'm not prejudiced towards anybody of a religious disposition. I'm perfectly okay with the freedom of worship, of having, mosques and synagogues and churches. I don't really care if you worship Allah or Yahweh or Vishnu or, kind of whatever you believe, that's fine. But I feel, like I say, I feel that you shouldn't bring religion into law. Law should be kind of a scientific thing. For example, a lot of religions are very much against homosexuality, but people are just born that way. It's not a choice. I know my fair share of homosexuals, and it's not something you would choose. And therefore, you shouldn't kind of ban homosexuality or impinge on the rights of homosexuality from a religious standpoint, and I feel that's wrong. I have no problem with people proselytizing to an extent. Walking around London, you often see people kind of handing out leaflets and stuff promoting this or that religion, and I'm fine with that too. But there are kind of lines. I feel that people should do it in kind of like a public space, like a park or on the high street. That's kind of okay. But for example, I read a article that was in The Guardian over a month ago, and it was about a group of evangelical Christians protesting outside an abortion clinic. Now, while I don't necessarily feel that abortion is right, I feel that it is a woman's right to choose, and I feel that nobody has a right to harass anybody else on the basis of their religious beliefs, whether they are themselves of a particular religion or if they're an atheist. So I also believe that people should not be kind of inflammatory or deliberately try and cause mass offence. For example, there was cases a few months ago of kind of radical Islamists protesting in London, and they were saying things like, Osama bin Laden was a great guy, 9/11 was a good thing, you kind of had it coming. Now, that's not to take the position that some of their grievances weren't kind of justified. The simple fact is that if you do shit like that, you're going to piss off a lot of people and really inflame our own kind of BNP, EDL kind of right wing. So it's unhelpful. You can critique the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan and all these other kind of terrible conflicts without praising Osama bin Laden whilst you're doing it. I mean, that's our equivalent of that, I suppose, is people turning up to anti-cuts rally with a big picture of Stalin. It alienates people. It kind of makes people think, well, if there are these kind of religious extremists, then maybe we are doing the right thing. So you're just kind of distorting the truth, even though you might be vaguely on the right side of the fence in terms of whether or not we should have gone to war. You're only solidifying the opposition to it and kind of making their sort of their belief in what they're doing kind of more solid, and just essentially because a lot of their when you critique something from a religious basis, it's purely on kind of an abstract form of morality. But the kind of irony in that is that pretty much every religion has a thou shalt not kill clause. Thou shalt not rape, pillage and murder. But a lot of people do those things in the name of religion. including George Bush. You know, George Bush and Osama bin Laden aren't that different. You know, I think under George Bush, about at least 15,000 civilians died, if not much more, and that's 5 times as many people who died in September the 11th. So, and all the time when they were doing that, they were saying, you know, well, God is on our side. Which is why I say that, you know, no kind of religious ideology should be brought into making government decisions, because when you say that, you know, a kind of a radicalized Muslim who doesn't know better is going to say, oh, all Christians are kind of, they're crusaders, they want to destroy Islam. And on the other side, when you get your Osama bin Laden's saying, we should just, you know, we do this in the name of Allah and the name of jihad, you're going to get your more kind of radicalized right-wing Christians saying, oh, all Muslims like that. And that goes for, you know, kind of Jews as well. I'm of Jewish descent, but I don't support the state of Israel. I should know that I'm an atheist, by the way. But I don't support the state of Israel. And some Jews do, some Jews don't. I don't know what the exact proportion are, but there are a significant number of Jews, especially amongst the Orthodox community, that are against the state of Israel on kind of various religious grounds. But the fact is, when you say, I support, when you're kind of preaching a religion, using your religion to justify the state of Israel, which is what they do. The whole kind of state of Israel is justified from a religious basis. And look at the effect it's had. It's had a war that's been going on for, you know, well, since like 1948. Millions of people have died. You know, you've got these kind of ultra-Zionist right-wing Jewish groups kind of moving in on the turf of the Palestinians and saying they're doing it on the justification of religion. So, you know, there's a big line from that, from, you know, maybe handing out some kind of your religion flyers and worshipping in various churches and temples, to actually stealing other people's lands and killing people in the name of your religion. So, and so basically, just to try and kind of crystallize that in some simple points, I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in limited freedom to proselytize. That is, do it in kind of appropriate places, which I guess you have to use your own judgment on that, but, you know, people tend to do that and do it in very wrong places, so there are right and wrong places to proselytize. I believe that no kind of governmental decision should be made on the basis of a kind of religious ideology, and no state should be created on an ideological standpoint. I mean, you know, for example, the whole Middle East, you know, I wouldn't try and stop the people in the Middle East from being Muslim, but, you know, I think it would make the lives of a lot of people a lot better if the religious rules weren't built into the laws of the state. You know, for example, one real shocking case to me was these two kind of boys who may or may not have been homosexual in Iran were hung, and they were like 15. That shit's fucked up, you know. Because they're basing the banning of homosexuality on the grounds that it's, you know, like a choice, and it's not. I know my share of homosexualities, and they don't choose to be that way. So you shouldn't enforce your kind of narrow, bigoted beliefs on the basis of the book that was written 1,000 years ago or whatever, and bring that into law. Like I say, you can go to a church or a temple or whatever. You can practice your belief and live by those rules. And you can tell people about those rules, and most people already know, but you shouldn't punish people or kill people for breaking them, you know. And that's not to say that, you know, a lot of people seem to think for some reason or another that if you're a atheist, or if you believe in a secular society, that you don't have morals. But, you know, a lot of the people who kind of tend to say that are the ones who sort of, they'll be anti-abortion, but they'll be pro-war, you know. And I think, as I said before, you know, every religion's got thou shalt not kill clause, so if you can stick to that, you know, that's a really good thing. So basically, And also, on a side note, I also believe that people should be allowed to promote atheism in the same way that other people promote their kind of religious beliefs on the street. So, you know, I believe in kind of a total equality in that regard. So, basically, to sum up, you know, kind of go to whatever temple you want to, kind of worship whatever god, read whatever holy scriptures you want to, but don't try and bring those kind of abstract religious moralities into governmental law, and don't commit violence in the name of a kind of religion. Differentiating that from a class struggle, and the ideas of class struggle which are kind of more scientifically based, which I'll do another kind of video on that because that's a complicated issue. But like I say, basically, to sum up in one phrase, you know, worship whoever you want, but don't kill me or don't try and hurt me for not worshipping the same belief. So, thanks for watching.